Okay, today we are going to speak about legal issues, and we're going to talk uh, about e-commerce and the most important legal aspects. If you have an e-commerce, you have to comply and you have to know the rules. Before to start, I want to tell you a bit information about me. I'm a lawyer, and my expertise is the corporate law and the new technologies law. And I'm the co-founder of Cirial 180. Cirial 180 is a boutique, a legal and finance boutique, and we are working for entrepreneurs, startups, and investors. Okay, today we will see all the points that we have to take into account when we want to start an online business. I will try to offer tools to all of you. The main goal is to learn general aspects of a business and then see specific aspects on an e-commerce business. The first goal, as I told you, is to learn. We are going to try to learn the most important things to take account, because there are a lot of information, there are a lot of regulation, but if you are an entrepreneur and you have an e-commerce, or you have the idea to start an e-commerce, it's important to keep in mind the most important things, because then if you have a problem, I am sure you will need the assistance of a lawyer, a consultant, or whatever. The second goal of this webinar is try to experience, to feel the information we are learning. It's difficult because there are a lot of information, a lot of theory, but I think if you have any question, we can try to communicate by ourselves and try to answer all the doubts. What we are going to see today is the alternative to start a business. There are two main ways to start a business. You can do individually as a freelance professional, or create a company through a liability company. We will learn to create or open a company, limited liability society. Here we will see the most important aspects of the functioning of a company. And at the end, we will see the most important aspects of an e-commerce. Okay? So, entrepreneurs, there are two basic ways to start a business: as a freelancer or with a company. Okay, this is the basics. Okay, then we will explain the most important aspects of an e-commerce. But I think before to that, it's important to understand the business aspect, the business issue. So you can entrepreneur as a freelance or as a company. Okay, as a freelance, I can tell you that it is the fastest and easiest way to start a business. you have its advantage and disadvantage to compare to society, okay? And the paperwork is too easy as well. There are two necessary procedures, one in the tax agency and another in the social security. Okay, you have to fill out two forms and you will be a freelance. I can show you that you can do all the paperwork in just one day, And if you go to the tax agency, you will find there good people and kind people that they will help you to fill out the form, and they will assist you. So is the easiest procedure to become a professional and have a business as a freelance, okay? But you can invoice to your clients if you are a freelance. The fee. The first thing I would like to tell you is there is no initial contribution, okay? No initial contribution is necessary to start as a freelance, to start your business as a freelance. Anyway, you will have to pay a monthly fee of 50 euros if this is the first time you register as a freelancer. During the first 12 months, you will have to pay 50 euros. Then there is a progressive increase to 270 euros, okay? Become a freelancer is the cheapest way to start a business, because you don't have to put in a bank account a big amount. There is no initial contribution, and then we have a bonus from the country, from the state, and we just have to pay 50 euros for the first 12 months. This is important because if you want to start a business, you know that you will have to pay a little amount, because 50 euros is a little amount when you start a business. Okay, the risk of entrepreneur as a freelance is, if you are a freelance, you are responsible for this activity in front of everyone, okay? On the other hand, the liability of the limited company is limited, okay? You only answer for the social capital of the company, okay? This is an important issue to take account and keep in mind, because it depends of the business. Are you thinking to start? If you are going to have a lot of clients and you are going to deal with complicated matters, maybe you will have to create a company instead of become a freelance, okay? And the last point is the tax, okay? And there are different taxes for self-employed and companies. The freelance tax, okay, is progressive and by sections. That is, the more you earn, the more you pay. On the other hand, the corporation tax is a fixed rate, okay? So when you have to decide if you want to start as a freelance or create a company, you have to think about your profit, because if you are a freelance, you have to pay more if you earn more. Okay, so if you are earning more than 40,000 euros from the tax scope, it's better to you to decide to create a company. But this is a specific issue we can try after. Okay, limited company. The introduction, let's quickly see the most important aspects of a company. Okay, incorporation, you must first decide the name of the company and make the reservation in the commercial register. Then you must make a contribution in the bank. And then you have to go to the notary to sign the bylaws and the public deed. Okay, in 2 weeks, you will have a tax number to identify your company, and you can start working legally. Bylaws, the bylaws are the rules of the game of the company, and the operation and obligation of the partners are decided within the bylaws. It can be complemented with a shareholders agreement. I think we are going to have a webinar of a shareholders agreement in 2 or 3 months, I don't remember, but we are going to speak about this forward. Okay, the contributions. We can contribute the 3,000 euros in a cash, or we can make contribution through assets. For example, you can provide a computer, or we can also provide intangible assets as a trademark. When we make non-monetary contributions, the partner is responsible for that contribution. Partners, the shareholders agreement will serve to know how to act in case of conflict arise. Shares, and the shares constitute the property of the partners over the company. Board, the partners must meet at least once a year to approve the annual accounts. Okay, to make other strategic decisions, they must also meet. Meeting in a board in the company, in the address. Okay, the management, we need to appoint an administrator. The administrator can be a unique administrator, just one person, a solidary, 2 or more people, 2 managers, or a joint management. What is the difference between solidary and joint? That joint management is when you have 2 managers and to sign a contract with a reseller, for example, you need to the sign of the 2 managers, okay? And on the other hand, the solidary management, you just need the sign of one of the managers, okay? And the last one option is the board of directors, but this is a figure that you just need if you receive money from important investors. Okay, the documentation, after, you have to know that after each meeting, you must document the decisions of the company. This is important to keep in mind because most of the entrepreneurs we are working with don't know that they have to comply a regulation about the documentation that they have to have within their company. Okay, we have to know as well that if we want to modify the bylaws, all the members must meet in the board of partners. And the last thing about business issues, before to start with the e-commerce is the accounting, and we have to know that a company has obligations, okay? One of them is to keep accounts and submit quarterly and annual statements to the tax agency. And we have to know as well that the management cost of a company is higher than the management cost as a freelance, okay? Because if you have a company, you will have to pay an accountant, and you will have to pay the fee, the freelance fee, but without a bonus, okay? If you are the manager of your company, you will have to pay more than 350 euros per month, each month, as a freelance, because you have to become freelance to being the manager of your company. Okay, we are on time. So let's start to e-commerce issues. First issue I want to commend you is the information obligations we have when we have an e-commerce, okay, a website on the internet, is we have to provide some information to our users, okay? This first obligation is the obligation almost all the entrepreneurs, all the startups, all the companies want to have to apply, because if you have an e-commerce, I am sure you will want to have good looking to your customers. Your customers want to see, want to check that you are applying the current regulation and you are doing things well. Okay. In legal policy, we will have to inform who is behind that web. There is a lot of information that we have to have on the web, and the most important information to have within the legal policy is the contact information, okay, the name of the company, the tax number, okay. We need to inform about the prices of the product or service. We also need to inform about the shipping and the cost of that shipping. And we have to inform about the conduct code within the e-commerce and the way of consulting the rules of that e-commerce, okay? If you want an accurate information about this, we can talk by email. I will give you my email at the end of this webinar, so feel free to send me an email and ask whatever you want. Okay, the second document that is important to have in our e-commerce and in our website, if you don't have are those rules the same for all European Union? Yes, Rosé, because on May of this year, from May we have a common regulation for all the countries that are members of EU. Okay, and no, 2 weeks before, the Spanish government approved the new regulation about privacy data treatment and about the information we have to have in our websites. And yes, if you are operating or you are selling to Spanish customers or another countries within the European Union, you have to comply the same rules, okay, in general. But if you are complying with the European regulation, that is what I am telling you, you will be fine, okay? After that, if you are selling to a specific country because the most of your clients are, for example, from France, okay? Okay, so we can check the specific regulation in France to see if there are any difference with the European regulation. But all the countries within the EU have to apply the European regulation, okay? Then this European regulation gives to the countries a little freedom to add or change something, but there is no important difference. Okay, let's continue with the webinar. With the privacy policy, we have to provide information on data protection to comply with the new regulations. And we have to inform about what deals we are going to collect, what information we are going to collect, with what purpose, okay? Who is the responsible for that data, and if we are going to transfer the data, okay? It's important if you already have an e-commerce or website, because these things apply to a website as well. If it's not necessary to have an e-commerce to have this kind of documentation in your website. It's important to know to you that from the new regulation, the new European regulation, we have to display the information to other spaces of the website. One, the first information we have to display is in the contact form, okay? Because the most websites take the data information from their contact page. So we have to inform about these aspects I comment before. And then we have to display the link of our privacy policy, okay? So if I am a user of your website and I'm going to the contact form, I have to see the main important information about data treatment, okay? We have to display or we have to see 3-4 sentences about the data treatment. After that, or below that information, as a website owner, I have to display a link with all the rest information about privacy policy. Okay, if you have any questions of that, I think we will have a webinar about data protection, and we will have the chance, the opportunity to comment on the regulation. It's very interesting, and we are working a lot with that kind of things, because from the Spanish authority administration, they are working a lot to try to find the companies that are not complying the new regulation. Okay, cookies policy. I am sure you will see that in many websites. It's not a difficult issue. You have to know that we have to inform which cookies we are going to use, okay, in our website, in our e-commerce, and how they work and how you can install. I want to commend you one thing about this documentation, okay? One common mistake is to go to a competitor website and do a copy paste of the legal policy, of the privacy policy, and of the cookies policy. Let me tell you that this is not a good way to act for your company, because truly all the documents have a similar things, a similar features that you can take from another document. But if you have an e-commerce, or you have a website from your business, you will have to adapt this documentation to your business. And you know that when we are doing copy paste, we are not paying attention to the important aspects, okay? And this is important not just to comply with the regulation, okay? It's also important because you can sell that you are complying with the regulation to sell your service or products, okay? And if your competitor is not complying with that new regulation, you can tell to your clients as a value proposition that your business is complying with the regulation, okay? And is a competitive advantage from your competitors. So try to see this as a value proposition. Besides, you will are acting good, and you will avoid any requirement from the administration or authority, okay? Let's continue with the most complicated and important document for an e-commerce, okay? Before we saw the main documents that all the websites have to display, okay? But if you have a website and you are a lawyer, okay, like me, and you don't sell products or services by your website, you don't have to think about terms and conditions, okay? But if you have an e-commerce, or you have a marketplace, or you have a website because you are selling a service, but you are selling your service by your website, okay? And me as a user can buy a service by your website, okay? If you are within this case, this situation, you have to pay attention to terms and conditions, okay? Because this is the 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 contract, the private document that regulates the relation between you and your client, okay? You have to know that when we think in a contract, okay, we have the picture in our mind that we see a paper contract, okay? But you have to know that electronic contract exists, and we can use it, okay? And when you have an e-commerce, you are doing an electronic contract with your clients, okay? So the service provider, the owner of the website, of the business, have to provide this information in a specific page on the footer of the website, okay? And the service provider will have the obligation to make available to the client, to the user, website user, before starting the contracting procedure and using techniques appropriate to the means of communication used, okay? Permanently, easily, and free of charge, clear, understandable, and unambiguous information about the following issues, okay? You have to inform to your user about the different procedures that must be followed to celebrate the contract, okay? If the provider is going to file the electronic document in which the contract is formalized, and if it will be accessible. The obligation to make available to the recipient the information referred, okay, will be considered fulfilled if the provider includes it in his page or website under the conditions indicated before, under the legal policy, under the privacy policy, and under the cookies policy, okay? When the provider, the owner website, specifically designs their electronic contracting services to be accessed through devices that have a screen of reduced format as a smartphones, okay? The obligation established in this section shall be understood to be fulfilled when providing the internet address in a permanent, easy, direct, and exact way. Okay, so if our website is a responsive website. What does mean a responsive website? A responsive website is a website we can access through our computer, okay, or we can access also through our mobile, our smartphone, okay? So we have to pay attention to display this information and the before information we comment to make available to our users to read it, okay? The web platform and its owner are have to they have to confirm the receipt of the ascendant of the ascendants to the one made by any of the following means, okay? I mean, if you are selling products or services, okay, and a user buy one product, okay, you have to send an email, okay, or a message, okay, indicating the your address, okay, and you have to send this email, this communication within 24 hours um, of receipt of the ascendants, okay, from you receive the 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 the, the ascendants of the buying, okay. It's necessary that an e-commerce report that the e-commerce report clearly in relation to the price of the good or service, including taxes and fees when applicable. You must also provide the information regarding the shipment, type of the shipment and collection, delivery time, etc. Okay, you should also inquire about the details of the purchase made by the client. And finally, the buyer must be informed of the shipping costs, okay, whether or not they are included, and if not, their amount. Rosé is asking if is it the same with services? Yes and no, Rosé. There are an important things that are the same with the services. Okay, if you have a website and you are selling services from your background, from your expertise, you have to display for sure this information, okay, legal policy, privacy policy, and cookies policy. But if you are selling services through your website, you have to have terms and conditions, okay, because you have a payment method through your clients can buy your services, and you have to inform about the terms and condition of that relationship, because you have to inform about the rules of use, how it works, your platform, your website, okay, because maybe the user to buy a service have to comply a form, and they need to be enrolled to your website, and they have to have a username and a password, okay. You have to inform about how your website works and what are the rules of the game of the website. okay, you have to inform about your service. What features are important to your services, okay? And you have to inform of that within the terms and conditions. It doesn't matter you are selling products or you are selling service, okay? You have to define um, as well as possible your service. You have to inform, we comment before, about the price. It doesn't matter you are selling a service. I am sure your service has a price, okay? It can be a one-shot payment, okay? If you want my assistance, my advising, you have to pay that amount, okay? And you have to inform that the client has to only pay and only payment, okay, one-shot service. But imagine that you are selling a service that the client has to do a subscription and has to pay every month or each 3 months, okay? So never mind, you have to inform of that to your client, okay? Your client have to have all the information before to buy a product or service. And we have to display all the important information, okay? Because if you think as a user, as a client, I am sure you will have to want all the information before to buy a product, okay? This is important to know. Then we can talk about, okay, Alexis, but anybody reads that kind of information, because when I want to buy a specific product, um, before to buy it, I click in the accept terms and condition button, and I don't read the information, okay? Okay, but our obligation as a business owners, as a e-commerce owners, is to first comply with the regulation, okay, and avoid penalties and avoid authority inspections, okay, and then we will have to be transparent. We will have to be clearly with our clients. Another important issue, okay, one thing, in the price, we have to express if includes the price IVA in Spain or VAT or not, okay, and if it's a fixed price or fluctuated, okay, or if we have a discount of our services, okay? And another important aspect, another important issue we have to have in our terms and condition document is the right of withdrawal, okay? You have to have at least 14 calendar days, and you have to offer 14 calendar days to your client to cancel the product, the acquisition of the product or services. Okay, we must, as a e-commerce owners, describe the procedure. The user can return the product following the rules during the 14 days. And we will have to write when the right of withdrawal can be realized. There are some exceptions, okay? So this is a general right. We can take this right when we buy a product also in a physical store, okay? You have to know that by regulation, we have the right to return the product, okay, we bought in a store, physically or an online store. But there are some exceptions, okay? First exception is the services already started when a user is aware of it, okay? If you are doing a consultancy services and you are doing your first consultant with your client and your client already paid, of course, there is an exception, okay, because you already you have already started the service, okay. So this is the first exception. Another exception is the products or services that depend of the financial market, okay. And another exception, you are selling, for example, personalized t-shirts, okay? If you are doing some personalized thing, okay, the user cannot use the white label right. And there is an also exception with goods with expiration and digital content. Okay, digital content, for example, there are a lot of entrepreneurs that have to know this because they are creating digital content, online course, or for example, if you are selling rosé courses about communication and public relations to your clients, and you want to record some of these sessions, and then you want to sell these sessions, okay, this is an exception. This will be an exception of the use of the withdrawal right. The same I told you before. If you have any question, we can talk after with by mail. So there are a lot of information of an e-commerce regulation, an e-commerce obligation, and this is a webinar, and we're telling the most important things. But if you want to do things well, I am sure you will have to consult to an expert, or you can to consult to an internet or the web of the authority, or you can buy a book because we are living in the internet era, and we have a lot of information to consult. Okay, so newsletter is the big deal of an e-commerce, and with the new regulations, okay, the European regulations, we must to obtain the explicit and specific consent of the user to be able to send them newsletters. Okay, we have to comply with the data protection regulations that we will explain in another session. Okay, but the idea is that if you want to send a newsletter to your customer, to your client, about informing of a new product or of a new service, about informing you are doing a session in a company next week, okay, and you are selling the tickets, okay. And if you want to do that, if you want to do this, you have to receive a specific consent, okay, from your client, for your customer. And this is important because before the new European regulation, the the web user, okay, your client, could do a check in the box, okay, accepting the privacy policy, okay, and with that, our privacy policy contained the newsletter policy, because it's an issue that you have to explain, okay, how it works within the privacy policy. And before this new regulation, we were fine if the user accept the entire privacy policy, okay? But with this new regulation, we have to display another checkbox below the privacy policy checkbox, because we need a specific acceptance of the newsletter, if we want to send commercial emails to our clients, okay? So keep in mind, please, we have to display two checkboxes if we want to send a newsletter to our clients, and we need the acceptance of the we need the checkbox clicked by our client, okay? This is an important issue because newsletter have a very important impact to our client. And most of the inspections by Spanish authority are for not doing well with our newsletter communications, okay? So if you have any questions about that topic, feel free to do it. Last three things to keep in mind if we are going to start an e-commerce or we are going to start a business with a website, okay? Intellectual property is the text and image that we have on our website. In the case of intellectual property, registration is not necessary to have rights over, okay? But we want to, we can to protect the intellectual property of our website, okay? But it's not necessary a specific registration, okay? If we want to register our intellectual property, we can do it public registration, we can do it private registration, or we can use notary to do an escrow. Okay, if you have questions about that topic, feel free to consult. Trademark must be registered to be authorized to that asset. Okay, that is different to intellectual property. Okay, intellectual property, we have the right over intellectual property as a author of the design of the website, of the text, okay, of the software of our website, okay. But trademark, if we want to have a trademark, if we want to display our trademark in our website, in our e-commerce, if we want to have the right over this trademark, we have to register this trademark. And we can register all in Spain or in the European Union, or if you are selling your products to a specific country, as the United States, we can seek the way to register the trademark in that country. Okay. And the last thing is know-how. Okay. Know-how is the important information and confidential information about your company. And our recommendation is always the same. If you have important information, okay, you have to sign contracts with a confidentiality clause with your providers, with your workers, okay, and we can establish protection clause in contracts and in the shareholders agreements, okay? Because when you start a company, you can have a partner, and then this partner can decide to start another business, or want to decide to want to work with a competitor. So it's important to set this kind of clause. Okay, thank you for you attending. For me, it's a pleasure to inform and explain a little about new regulation and e-commerce legal aspects. I know there are some information to know and to keep in mind. We just see the most important information, and if you have a specific question, or you want to ask a question, feel free to send me an email to this email account, or you can find us in Twitter, in Facebook, in Instagram. I already have also personal social networks. So we have a company blog, and we have Emprendepedia with videos, and we are trying always to communicate with value. Okay, if you want more information, please try to check our website, because we are always trying to add value to our community and our clients. And if I remember well, we are going to publish in 2 weeks or 3 weeks blog post about e-commerce aspects. Okay, so you can check. If you don't have any questions, thank you for attending to this webinar. And I know Rosé, that is our helming, and I know that an entrepreneur has to focus in the business, and they have to not be worried about the legal or financial things. That's why, if you have any questions, I'm open to answer it. And as I told you, we are always trying to add value to our community. So yes, and you are doing your homework, because you are trying to understand the regulation. Other thing is to adapt your business to that regulation. Okay, so thank you very much, and we will see in a future. Okay, thank you.